Dilip Sinha is the former Indian representative to the United Nations and also the former Indian ambassador to Greece. He is now joining us live from New Delhi. Dilip, welcome to the show. This round seems to be escalating by the day. India still wants answers. Canadian Prime Minister still insists on his credible allegations, and I put those in quotes. What could be the final nail in the coffin to end this feud?
Well, this dispute shows no signs of abating right now because Canada, it seems, has not yet provided any evidence on the basis of which it has taken action against India. Even the Canadian Prime Minister has said that he has shared credible allegations. Now, allegations are not evidence. Allegations are merely allegations. And our government, the Indian government, has stated that no evidence has been shared. And this is not only stated by the Indian government, the leader of the opposition in Canada and the premier of the province of British Columbia have both said that even they have not been given any credible evidence so far. Right. The premier of British Columbia said that he had merely been shown some evidence based upon public sources. So the only statement that we have is that apparently the Five Eyes have been shared, given some evidence by the Canadians, but nothing has come in the public domain yet. So it's impossible to say what evidence Canada has of India's involvement. In any case, if Canada is asking India to cooperate in the investigation, it means that the investigation is still underway. And even while the investigation is underway, the Canadian government has already taken the action of declaring Government of India guilty of committing murder on Canadian soil. And it has already taken the extreme action of expelling a senior Indian diplomat. So the action has been taken, whereas the investigation is still ongoing and the evidence is not yet in the public domain. So there is little reason for the Indian side to, at this moment, try and cool things down. Canada has also put a pause on the negotiations of the free trade agreement. So Canada has gone ahead and taken very strong action against India without the courtesy of sharing evidence or letting India participate in the investigations.
Dilip, what would be the impact in the long run for citizens who live in Canada or India, especially students in Canada and vice versa?
They will become the primary victims and the most innocent victims of this very irresponsible action by the Canadian government. Canada has become a safe haven of terrorists. If the other allies of Canada have not spoken up in favor of Canada, it is because they have all had very frustrating experience with Canada in dealing with action against terrorism. We know, for example, that in the case of the Air India bombing that took place in 1985, the investigation, according to Canada's own sources, were absolutely flimsy, and the culprits behind the bombing have not yet been adequately punished. One person was given a perfunctory sentence. Then there have been a spate of gang warfare killings in Canada because these various terrorist organizations that are based in Canada also obviously fight with each other. Right. Then there are gangs and operatives who are threatening Hindus in Canada, asking them to leave the country. There are people asking for the killing of Indian diplomats. Canadian government has not taken any action against these people, and it is feeling outraged against one wild allegation of killing of one person who was, in any case, a designated terrorist by India, and India had asked for the extradition of this person from Canada, which the Canadian government had ignored.
Dilip, finally, and I want your brief response to this one. India has started raiding and even confiscating properties and even assets of suspected Khalistani terrorists living in the country. What do you think of India's actions?
Well, this is the war on terrorism, which now the whole world accepts. India has been a victim of terrorism for a very long time. The Air India bombing case in which 329 people were killed, which Canada did not even recognize as a bombing, was perpetrated against both Indians and Canadians of Indian origin and a few other Canadians who were killed. This was the biggest ever terrorist attack emanating from Canada, and yet it was ignored. So the Indian government, as many other governments in the world, have followed a policy of zero tolerance against terrorism. So I think India is well within its rights under international law to take action against terrorists who are trying to cause harm to our citizens. Mm-hmm. And our citizens in Canada will also have to bear with this, because the Canadian government is taking a very soft stand on terrorism, while the Indian government cannot afford to do so because we are the victims of this. If the government of India is taking action at last against these groups, it should be commended, and the international community should support India, as should the Canadian government in its own interest. Otherwise, Canada will become a hotbed of gang warfare among these various terrorist organizations, as certain other countries have, which nurtured and spawned terrorism in the hope that they would only operate outside and not in their own country.
All right. I've been talking to Dilip. He's the former Indian representative to the United Nations and also the former Indian ambassador to Greece. Dilip Sinha, thank you very much for talking to WION World is One today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.